On the last episode, I told you about my capture card curse. In this episode, I'm going to talk to you about how I got into Let's Plays overall. Hey guys, I'm DeoGenZ. Welcome to Let's Play Pokemon Rumble. And that's right, I decided that on this episode, I will give you a little bit of history into how I got into LPing and what inspired me overall. So this starts very young, very early on in my childhood. And, it was since pretty much I was a toddler, I guess. As soon as I learned to talk and could understand English pretty well, pretty sufficiently, that's when this all started. And what my parents would do would not sit me down in front of the television, no, and let me watch things like The Wiggles or whatever the hell, Teletubbies, whatever was on in the 90s, I guess Barney, who knows. But, so what they would do is they would put on speakers. And they would put on people like Carl Sagan and Alan Watts, and holy crap, I just got Raticate raped. Okay, so, they would put on those intelligent speakers for me to listen to. And I'd listen to things in the car like NPR, as we would drive from place to place and go into the farm, which was, at the time, farther than just right outside my door, which is currently the setup I have now, living on the farm. But before, it was a bit of a drive, so we would listen to NPR. And I'd be listening to talk radio this whole time, and there would be chances where I was left in the car for some reason or another, like maybe something was going down out there and couldn't have little guys running around. Who knows? But while I was left in the car, I would start to, broadcast to myself. I would start to imitate the NPR radio people and hold conversations with myself. I would have alternate personalities that, it's not imaginary friends in any sense, but I would talk to myself about a topic and have two opposing views for it and talk it out with myself. And that was funny. I guess that's really where it started, was being exposed to all those wonderful speakers at an early age and just absorbing that and then transmuting that later on. And it kind of put me at odds, though, with some of my peers, not in any violent ways or anything like that. It was just kind of an ostracizing thing to have perhaps maybe a more advanced vocabulary or understanding of things than most, not wanting to talk about SpongeBob or whatever show was popular at the time over lunch, That kind of put me as an outcast, but whatever. I did my own thing, and the big thing with me that my friends now adore me for is the fact that I'm a good listener, and that's pretty much all I do, really, outside of LPs or outside of YouTube, I suppose. YouTube is pretty much my talk time, big time, throughout the day. It depends what I'm doing, but I don't always blabber on like this, It's only a production for you people, and I like to put on a good show. It's not that I'm inarticulate when I get out of these walkthrough LP things, but I'm just not yakking away all the time. It's not like I have some kind of talking disorder or anything like that. But, I just mostly, for the most part, when interacting with people in whatever way, I do most of the listening. I just absorb all the data, and that's when I not really raise my own judgment, but base my own opinion and present some kind of solution in a sort. It's one thing I always like to do, is find solutions to problems. And that's one big thing that my friends admire from me. And I'm not saying that in a hubris sense. I mean, they've actually told me, so it's on good record. So, so that's how it started, basically, was me talking to myself in the car while I waited at the barn for my parents to get back and drive us home. But later down the line, I got the Zune. This is way later down the line. This is like high school. And by that time, I was a gamer, big time. Because, introduced to Pokemon Crystal in, I guess, 2000 or so. And ever since then, big time gamer. And so I wanted to collect game footage and game walkthroughs and stuff for games that, like Metroid Prime. I saw this one speed run that was on YouTube. I don't know how it was on YouTube. I guess they were partnered or something like that, but it was an hour long. And I loved that video because, anything that I needed help with Metroid Prime, I didn't look to that video because it was one whole hour, and sorting through a whole hour of footage is such a chore that it's not really a helpful walkthrough, especially since the guy at the time, I remember, he didn't do any commentary on it, which most Metroid people don't, but if I ever do Metroid, I will be doing commentary, of course. And, but what I liked about it was the fact that I could have the video on a portable format, this previously only GameCube game, now in the palm of my hand with the Zune. I really liked that, so I wanted to get into my own recording of my own gameplay. And also, at the time, I remember the Nintendo forums were getting shut down, and that was my place of chatting with people. That was the kind of clique that I had fallen into, I suppose, at the time, because of my quote-unquote braininess and bad pronunciation skills. But I kind of fell into that. And I didn't mind or anything like that. It was a good group to belong to. Still is. Best group now. Geeks are more valuable now than ever, and do control the behind-the-scenes action. So any forward process that you're looking at now was probably engineered at some point by a geek or hacked by a geek. You can almost be probably 100% assured any technology that you see in your home has been hacked, even the toaster, by a geek at some point. So not a bad team to play for. But, I was trying to find a different community after that, after the Nintendo forums fell out of service, because, I don't know, Nintendo just didn't want to have the bandwidth for them, or, I forget, I know there was a shift in companies with Nintendo Power, but I feel like they had something to do with the forums at some point, but I don't remember anyway. So, the forums were down, and I was out searching for a new gaming community, and I stumbled across a couple, and I think one of the first that I went to was G4, and at the time I didn't know any better, and boy was that a mistake. Just tons of rage-filled Xbox 360 fanboys with lots of Wii hate, lots of Nintendo hate overall, and that was the wrong place to go to look for a community after coming from the Nintendo forums. That was a wrong thing to do, but I didn't know. So I kept searching, and eventually I found Nintendo Radio somehow or another. I think it was, how was that? How was that I found it? Temporarily I forget, but I discovered Nintendo Radio, and I think it was through the forums of some sort. I know that G4 led to Nintendo Radio in a way, and it was a funny synchronicity in that sort. So somehow, by some mystical way, that happened, and I got to Nintendo Radio. And Ryan was still in the beginning stages. Ryan Church, the original owner, the host, the creator of Nintendo Radio. He was the brains behind it. And, he was still in the infantile stage of podcasting, and he was still getting stuff together, still getting segments, and looking for a co-host. So this is where my articulateness really helped me out, and I didn't need to appeal to any peers because... You know me, trust me, I was as intense about having an opinion and having free speech as I am now, as I was then. So I wasn't going to try and live up to any expectations of the popular cliques. So, a fellow geek, I just used my articulate ways of talking and convinced him that I would be a perfect candidate to come on the podcast. And I remember it started off that I sent him a remix, a Nintendo song remix that I did. And I think it featured Electroplankton or some other kind of remixing tool that I wove in there. And I probably have the file laying around on a hard drive somewhere, but who knows. And so I sent him a couple of songs, made him an intro song, and then eventually I was guest host, and then eventually co-host, and pretty much partnered until episode 100 when he went off to college and handed down the whole thing to me. And once I had that in my possession, because for the longest time I wanted to communicate on a large scale to people, I wanted to definitely branch out from just talking to myself. Once I got older, I didn't do that. I just wrote down thoughts, and that was that. But I want to still express them, and for peers that can't perceive them, I needed a larger audience base, and Nintendo Radio was that platform that allowed me to do that. That was the whole beginning right there, pretty much. the spark was there at an early age, but the opportunity didn't arise until much later on. And previously, before that, I saw gaming on TV, like G4, for example. That was probably the gaming channel that I watched, loving Ninja Warrior. That was the best thing they had to offer. But later I learned later down the line, they became pretty Nintendo biased, Nintendo hating biased. So no fun for me, being a Nintendo lover. And I always loved seeing that gameplay footage there. And when I got the Nintendo radio thing handed down to me, for a while I kept it going, and I almost was going to produce more podcasts for it, but I never actually got out to episode 101. I think I made show notes for it, and it never went further than that, because my friend Matt Goldsman, who was my buddy that I mentioned in my last video, who was there for the capture card curse, and is there today still with GamersCast, he said, we should merge our podcasts together, meld the two bases, and go from there. And so we did that, and I guess that went on for about a year. And then I thought, what am I going to do with this YouTube? Because this basically was before just a platform for reviews and other video content that we wanted to make for the site. And I always had wanted to do some kind of Pokemon YouTube, but I never got the username or did anything with it, because my last username, it was totally shit upon by the public, hating my Deoxys for Brawl campaign and not listening to my Refined Rage videos or anything like that. So that YouTube account was pretty much done, in my opinion. And I said, you know what, time to move on. So I decided to convert this into one of my biggest dreams, becoming a Pokemon expert on YouTube, helping the public with all their Pokemon problems. And it just kind of expanded from there, wanting to do Pokemon to wanting to spread the word about good games like Mad World. I had wanted to spread the word so badly about Mad World and encourage everybody to go get it who likes hardcore content on the Wii, because so much did people complain about that in the beginning. Now they kind of died down, and I think those people are just not around to say anything anymore. They've left Wii, quite frankly, I think. But I haven't given up on it, and I never will. But, that's just me. So I try to tell people, stop bitching, get out there, and vote with your dollar. But unfortunately, it was with the tube TV and the camcorder, and I still have those files just for archive's sakes. If you ever are interested, maybe I'll make a reel of that for funny haha content. But it was funny because that was kind of the start of where the LPs came into mind, other than just Pokemon. Like, okay, this is a Pokemon YouTube, but perhaps I should go more in the distance and more in the direction, I meant to say, not distance, but more in the direction of Let's Plays and walkthroughs. So that was a pretty brief history, maybe not so brief, it depends on your definition of brief history, of how I got into doing Let's Plays. See you next time, guys.